Well, I think there are some differences in Real Madrid picking up points, and maybe you guys not like, and we're talking about like playing well and playing not. I think Real Madrid have a lot they need to improve on, mainly their defense and their press, which is very permeable right now. I chalk that up, or I will at least give the benefit of the doubt to Carlo, who, again, in today's press conference mentioned that the press needs to improve, that I think they will eventually figure that out, because the thing with pressing is that if it's something you haven't been doing consistently for a couple years under Zidane, to start doing it again may take some time to at least get the continuity down, the rhythm down, the cohesiveness down. There's been people in and out of the lineup. There's been a new signing in Camavinga who's still trying to figure things out, and he's looked great still. You're missing Toni Kroos, all that stuff. But Real Madrid are also doing a lot of good things offensively, and they have a lot of good players and some individual talent, and some things happen that are clicking, and they're kind of waking up into it. And it's not that I was very critical of Real Madrid's performance against Valencia, basically up until Ancelotti made the subs and Vinicius and Benzema took control of the game. But I don't know if garbage is necessarily the right word. But for the point you're making...
I thought it was the worst performance this season.
Of Real Madrid's performances? Okay.
Yeah.
So, having said that, I still think they deserve to win. They were the better team. Yeah, overall, for sure. Overall, they were. They did not play well in the first half, but in the grand scheme of things, they were just the better team overall, and I think they deserve to win. But okay, we'll agree to disagree. And again, I was pretty critical of that performance up until that point as well. There were a few good things happening, I think, but we don't need to get into them right now. But I think bringing back to your question about what happened since Barcelona played Real Sociedad at the beginning of the season, I don't know for sure. But if you look at that lineup, there's maybe 2 to 3 key players that are not in the team right now. One is Pedri. When is he coming back? It's a vacation, right? Or something like that?
No, Pedri's out.
Oh, he was actually injured. Yeah, I forgot about that. I know that he was resting and stuff. I saw him in the stadium yesterday. Not me physically. I'm obviously not there, but I saw him on the camera. I knew he was there, but I forgot that he was injured.
You were here. You didn't say what's up to me. You
up.
Went straight to a Barca game.
Pedri, that's one. Braithwaite
Pedri out.
Scored a couple goals that game.
Braithwaite out.
And Griezmann's gone.
Griezmann gone. Messi gone. Ansu out. Dembele out. Agüero out. Jordi Alba out. I know I'm missing some people here, but yes, the list of injuries is long, is significant, and the
Emerson gone.
Players having yeah, I mean, look, I don't think, obviously, Alejandro Balde, the young, 17-year-old left back filling in for Jordi Alba, got injured as well in the first half. That was not a good another setback for Koeman and the Barca defense, or offense, if you will, because he was one of the bright spots. He was voted by us the man of the match against Bayern Munich, even though he just played 18 minutes. You know, he was, along with Gavi, one of those players that had an immediate impact and came on with the right attitude, attitude and intention, really, to at least show a fighting spirit in that Champions League match against the Bavarian side. And you know, obviously him getting injured as well in the first half didn't do the team any favors. Look, it was a lineup that initially, quite frankly, got me quite excited. Seeing Yusuf, seeing Alejandro Balde being included in the squad had me excited. Even the top three with Felipe Coutinho, Depay, and Yusuf, I thought were sort of. We talked about that in the account and in the show prior to the match. And I actually said that would have, like, when we had to give our predictions for starting 11, I had that front three as my starting 11, sort of thinking that was not going to happen. Coutinho needs minutes. Obviously, he's coming off of a long-term injury as well, in and out of injury for that matter, since several seasons. And I don't know if this point, you know, he's a lost case. Unfortunately so, because he's a very nice guy, and I wish him the best. But from a football perspective, you know, is he done? It's getting something productive out of him at this point is a very tough task for any manager. So I don't want to hold that against Koeman. What really, like, I think when we're shining a light on Ronald Koeman, it has to be for basically not believing in the talent that he has in the team, but not so much, not even the talent, the philosophy, the idea of fast-paced passing. That's what it is, Kian.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So my personal view on this is that I think Barcelona on paper are too good to be playing the way they are. I think they have a lot of good players. I think I do feel that another manager. Okay, so I'll be careful with this, but let's take the Bayern game as an example. I think if you replace Koeman with another manager, they still probably lose that game. But they lose it differently and not with the same mistakes that Koeman did. And we already talked about that last podcast. We even clipped it for free on YouTube. It's there. Go watch it. So I don't want to talk about that now. But I certainly think that it was his insistence to sign Luuk de Jong for what? I'm not sure. Like, we all saw him play in the last few years. We all saw what he brings to the table. We all know that Braithwaite is there. Not exactly the same player, but kind of. Aguero is going to come back at some point, so why are you taking up that roster spot? Why not just allocate those minutes to another young player like Yusuf, who's not a striker, but again, like, is De Jong really giving you any valuable striker minutes anyway? I don't think he is, because he has no real presence outside the box. He's been spending a lot of time outside the box and hasn't done well. He's not going to bag you a ton of goals. He's going to waste some chances, as we saw.
Quick interjection and hold your thought.
Go ahead.
Guess who was the only player on yesterday's roster to have scored against Granada? Barca's roster. Correct. Sevilla.
That's the irony. And also, again, I mentioned this to you before. At Sevilla, he showed up like one game a year, and it was against Real Madrid when Sevilla played against them. So, the ball's going in the back of the net, and if he gets that chance against Real Madrid.
He scored against Barca too, scored against Atleti. He scored it on big stages, scored in the Europa League semi-final and final. So,
Yeah, that's true. You asked me to hold my train of thought, but I don't. I lost it.
Sorry.
Barca, Koeman.
Luke.
Yeah, look, I do think when he says we don't have the players to play tiki-taka, we all know tiki-taka is a very vague term, and it means it's much deeper than that.
Tiki-taki.
He does. He's not. He's wrong about that. But
he called it tiki-taki.
Oh, did he? I missed that.
Yeah, it was a big. It was a big thing here today.
Well, that's amazing. I didn't hear that. We should just brand it to tiki-taki now. Rebrand tiki-taki. And tiki-taki is basically just 55 crosses to Luuk de Jong. That's what tiki-taki is. All right. So, my question to you is.
Yeah.
First of all, like, this does, in my opinion, this does look a lot different if Dembele and Ansu Fati come back and are healthy, and same with Pedri. Those three players, I think, change the ceiling of this team. But I just don't know if necessarily how much changes if you sack Koeman now mid-season. And I don't know who that is, and I don't really know if there's any exciting names, to be quite honest, unless you bring in somebody from the youth team. Who's the guy in the youth team again? What's his name?
Well, you're thinking Pimienta, but he got fired.
He's gone? He's not in Barca B anymore?
No, he got fired.
Did you see Iniesta throwing his name in the mix today?
What? No?
He had an interview where he didn't really do this, but he just planted some seeds, I think, where he said that I would like to be a coach at Barca one day or something like that.
Oh?
Yeah.
All right. Well,
yeah.
fuck.
He said he wants to come back to Barca, and the paraphrasing, but he said it's not because of the name on the back of his shirt or because he played for Barca. It's because he feels that he can bring value to the football side of things, and he would like to return to Barca in a footballing capacity one day. That's what he said.
100%.
Yeah.
Let's bring it. Yeah. Look, man, it was just a shambles. It was a very uncomfortable game to have to cover, and doing so live for Barca TV as well. I don't know if any of our listeners are subscribers to Barca TV Plus, but it's so awkward having to, sit there and bite your tongue and come up with ways where you still, it's a 3.5 hour broadcast, and to have to endure that and sit there and still be politically correct and positive, if you will. It's a challenge that I don't know how long I can keep it up for. That's why I need this churros, man. That's why I need Friday's churros, so I can just really be myself and let it go. Because, like I said, man, when I saw Luuk warm up in that first half, and when Gerard Piqué came in as our second striker, which was quite something. Did
you see one of the outlets actually praise that decision? They said it was genius and the opponent didn't see it coming. I don't know what to say to that. I mean, to be fair, like, Zidane did it with Ramos often, and Piqué has played that
as a striker. I'm actually a striker. No, the one thing is the central defense, moving forward in set plays, corners and stuff, or on a counter, let's say. But Piqué was a striker. He was an our forward.
Hasn't Piqué himself actually played that role before?
That's a good question. I know Araujo has played as...
No, I'm talking like years past. Like
Yeah. I'm not sure about Piqué. Araujo has played in the front line, but I don't know about Piqué.
Okay. All right. So you mentioned to me off air that you found Carlo Ancelotti's press conference today interesting. Do you want to talk about what you thought it was interesting?
Yes, indeed. In particular, the quote that stood out to me was something along the lines of, I don't like players that are not playing and still having a good time, I think was the quote.
Yeah.
Reference to Asensio, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that it was in response to a question about Asensio. I really like that quote, actually. I think it's a nice quote. In case people haven't listened to this podcast, haven't heard it. By the way, do you want me to call this podcast something about Ancelotti's press conference? That'll be the headline for the podcast name.
Yeah, that'll help.
All right. This is an inside joke from the Friday podcast, by the way. So that was in response to, because the report was that Asensio is unhappy because he was promised minutes in the summertime and he's not getting that minutes. What I probably think what happened was that things may have changed once Camavinga was signed. Maybe the plan was for Isco to go into a more central midfield role. He's already going to be behind Isco in that department, who's already on the fringes. And when you throw Camavinga into the mix, who's leapfrog both of them, it's going to be even harder. So that's something that may have changed. Also, what Asensio has been okay. He hasn't really impressed that much. I still think he's been a little bit shy. He's not going to provide you with the incisive dribbling that Vinicius brings. He's not going to necessarily bring you pace or ball carrying. He is going to give you some elements of, he can play an interesting role as a 10, but he's not going to be contributing defensively. And if you're going to play that role, well, Hazard plays that better and Isco already plays that better. So anyways, fast forward to him being unhappy because he's not getting what he's promised. This is the quote from Carlo.
I have it here.
Okay, perfect. Can you save me, please?
Asensio, no me gustan los que no juegan y están contentos. Asensio, I don't like those players who are not playing but are still happy. So effectively what I said in the beginning.
Yeah. And look, and what he was also basically saying was that it's good that he's unhappy, because what does that tell me about Asensio if he's happy not playing, right? It's a bad sign. So that's the silver lining. That's what he was saying. So he was saying that if Asensio is not happy, that's a good thing. If Isco's not happy, that's a good thing. If Jovic isn't happy, it's a good thing. I don't want players to be happy if they're not playing, because basically, and he didn't say this part, but what he was implying was that it shows me that they have drive, they have ambition, they're not happy, just content, and they want to fight for their players that are unhappy about it. So that's what he meant.
Okay, I actually interpreted it different. I thought he was saying that that Asensio is basically going about his day to day, happy and pleased with the situation of him not playing.
No,
I thought that's what he's saying. Okay.
So you would get a great job at Mundo Deportivo, and they could title the headline "Ancelotti blasts Asensio" in the press.
Well, this is from us, so.
Yeah, but okay, well. All right.
Well, I'm in all fairness, it is a clickbaity headline, and
yeah,
your
it's easy.
More in-depth analysis is doing more justice to what is actually being said.
That for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
but there is. I mean, there is, and it's nothing new neither. A cause for concern. The fact that, I mean, Asensio was supposed to be, the replacement for, or let's say the second coming of Raúl in a way. Obviously not in the same position, but he was going to be the poster boy for Real Madrid moving forward. And not only is he not achieving that, I think at this point, I mean, he's not even a Real Madrid material. I don't know what more you guys are going to get out of him, because a player even in the Olympic Games, he decided to go to the Olympic Games as opposed to focusing on the Real Madrid preseason and making sure that he's, in tip-top, bang-up shape for a very, what is going to be, or what is already a very demanding season. He decided to play in the Olympics and really didn't do much there neither. I think he scored a decisive goal that allowed Spain to advance to the final, or was it in the quarterfinal to advance to the semis? I'm not exactly sure anymore. But other than that, it's his performances in general across the board have been subpar, and surely a disappointment for all of those Madridistas that were exactly that, hoping for him to be the poster boy for Real Madrid.
Yeah. And for sure, I think there is a level of disappointment, because we had high hopes from him in 2017. I think even in that 2007-2018 season, he was good. And as you mentioned, there was things he did in the build-up to that World Cup. Who can forget that game against Italy, where both he and Isco together, playing in that interchangeable false nine role, did so much damage. I think, and so we were asked
the Super Cup against Barca.
The Super Cup, I mean, that was a famous one for him. There was a question we had on the Manage Madrid podcast, given that we have this experience with Asensio now, that in 2017 we were incredibly excited about him. We thought he was going to be one of the best players in the world. And I also added to that remember when that summer 2016-2017 we were talking about three players for the future: Mbappe, Asensio, and Dembele. And so that's where our mind was at the time. And the question was, should we be cautious about Vinicius for that same reasons? We're very excited about him now, the way he started the season. He's young. He's doing all these great things. And I think it's an interesting question. I think Vinicius is much more better at what he's good at than Asensio was. If you look at Asensio's skill set, he was never as good of a dribbler as Vinicius was. A lot of his bread and butter came shooting from distance, making these crazy solo individual goals, which is by no means do I want to diminish. But if I'm talking about what Vinicius is doing right now in terms of the way he's carrying the ball into the final third, the way he's carrying the ball up the field, the way he's dribbling people past people incessantly, the way he's improved his finishing, the way he's linking up with everyone on that left side, the way he's working defensively, which is something that Asensio never had. And I feel like just mentally, even though we often talk about Vinicius mentally in front of goal, kind of freezing up or whatever, seems to be improving on that this season. Obviously, it's, the numbers and the eye test speaks for itself. I do feel like Vinicius is more of I'll grab this game by the scruff of the neck type of player than Asensio, who was a little bit happier being a passenger and had that famous quote after Ronaldo left, that it's not up to me to step up. And, I think that's maybe the difference between Vinicius and Asensio, and why we can at least have a little bit more wiggle room to have more faith about Vinicius moving forward. Just my thought. Time will tell, but I think it's pretty clear why Asensio lost his place. He's just not as good as the other players in his team in those positions that he occupies, and just doesn't do the same things at a high enough level.
How concerned are you about Casemiro, Militao, and Carvajal? That right flank, let's say, that right area